I was VP head of marketing, but internally I was really like head of category. This took my full-time effort for several weeks in the months leading up to the summit, where I was actually meeting one-on-one with every single speaker and engaging them and educating them on the category itself. And here's how I think your voice and expertise fits into the problem. So we were actually co-designing content. 75 to 100 speakers, right? But now you've created 75 to 100 megaphones that get it, that believe, that are bought in, right? So again, this is how the event strategy helps you amplify the category.
I'm really privileged and honored to have Bryan Funk join us. Bryan, well, he'll talk about himself a little bit, but one of the things that we meant to do with the summit, and we're going to be starting here with Bryan. I'm sorry, I want to apologize to Russ for not doing it. Is 2 truths and a lie. So I don't know if you want me to do it or you want to do it. And the winner of this gets a prize, or gets to be recognized, right?
That's amazing. Okay, I'll go through these really quick. First one, I built a campaign that got 100 million YouTube views in 5 days. I started my career living in a van, traveling to all 50 states, speaking to 50,000 people, and I've traveled to 79 countries.
Okay, so which one of those is
call out the lie?
The lie. Okay, so again, that's going to be, in fact, I'm going to put this in a chat.
Go viral, live in a van, travel around the world.
Right. I'm going to, oh my goodness. This is a tough one because they all look a little fantastical to me.
The idea was make it really hard.
Yeah. And anybody? Okay. Don't all rush to do it all at once. Everybody, listen, I'll take a stab. Okay. I think it was 79 countries is the lie. And Deanna said, me too. Okay. And I think it was the 100 million viral YouTube views that's a lie.
Yeah, that's a tall order, right?
Yeah.
Tell me when I can spill the beans.
Hold on a second. Dr. Simone Davis said go viral. Kevin Walker, 79 countries. Nobody's choosing living in a van. I guess that's too much like
it's too trendy. It's too trendy now. I'm out on it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Why don't you spill the beans?
I have not been to 79 countries, but my wife has, which is what inspired the lie.
Okay. All right, perfect. Well, the reason why I wanted to have Bryan Funk here is because Bryan has built, was it 2? He's helped build 2 software or SaaS companies from, barely past million to like multiple 8-9 figures on the back of summits. But not only summits, but he's also designed categories. You should have been on, I should have invited you to the category design.
That would have been fun.
Thing that we had, the panel that we had earlier. But why don't we just get started with this, right? So first of all, Bryan has a lead magnet for everybody attending, which is the Content Authority Framework. So if you all want to shoot Bryan an email over here about that, he can get you that authority, the Content Authority Framework. So tell yeah.
I'll spoil what that is at the end of this, but I guess just to set some context, thanks everybody for attending. I think while I'm just teeing up and introing, I would love to see, for those of you that have attended other sessions through the Strike Marketing Summit, like call out your biggest learning, your biggest aha. Like it's really helpful for me to absorb and digest. Like, what are you soaking in? Like what's valuable to you? This conversation is honestly like I'm coming in and I wanted to keep it fresh, dynamic. I want your voice and your questions to help inform where we go. This is truly a conversation. I have 0 slides, but I'm excited to pull back the layers on how an event engine within category creation helped me be a part of an incredible team that scaled from, like Fernando said, $1 million in ARR to a 100 million Series C, and can talk about kind of, where I've been since then. A little bit of background on me. Like I said, I started my career literally living in a van, doing speaking engagements. But I actually think that experience is the foundation that informed what I believe is most powerful in category creation. And it's, how do you mobilize, spread an authentic message, get in front of as many people at scale, to build rich, real relationships to solve a problem. And believe it or not, my two truths are kind of seeding where we're going today, because believe it or not, all of that kind of one-to-one relationship building through getting on stages across the country for the year is actually what led to the tipping point to creating one of the most viral campaigns in the history of the internet. If any of you have ever heard it, it was called Coney 2012. It was really big 15 years ago. We did a 29-minute video, which is unheard of for going viral. And it was the fastest growing, most viral campaign in the history of the internet at that time. And it was done because of the mobilization efforts that I think all companies, but especially SaaS companies and tech companies, especially as we kind of move into this world of, where we need to dig in and go deeper with personalization, authority in our content, in this world of AI, where the volume and the noise has just been turned up, but also the quality has been turned down. So I kind of strategically seeded those two things. So I work in a very, very niche vertical, and it is a SaaS vertical that is known by a couple names. You might have heard of tech for good. You might have heard of nonprofit tech, social impact tech. But if you've ever been a part of a GoFundMe, right? I live in that bubble. So it's a very, very niche bubble with a very, very specific buyer and ICP. And over the last, and to be honest, leading up to my experience as a marketer and in software, I was living the life of our ICP. And I actually think that was like the unique differentiator that allowed me to be successful as a category creating marketer, because I knew and lived all of the pain points that our technology was trying to solve. And so I spent many years at a company called Virtuous CRM. I'm actually going to link them in the chat just in case anyone's interested in learning about them. I was basically on a 1 of 2 marketing team, and led the marketing department to a 100 million Series C. And we created our own category to, meet our buyer, but also to basically tackle a like behemoth competitor that you just couldn't beat playing their own game. Blackbaud was the competitor. Yeah. If anyone's heard of them, or if anyone here lives in South Carolina or Charleston, you're very aware of them in your backyard. And so category played an incredible role in us creating a distinct message and point of view that could meet our buyer uniquely in their pain point at a very specific moment in time. And we found, and I even, just for fun, we did all the typical category creation stuff that you hear about. Like, we wrote 2 books. I've got the books here, dusted them off of the bookshelf for you folks today. But that's a little bit on just kind of high level, like where I come from, what I believe in. I'm actually in a little bit of why the offer is my email is I'm in a little bit of stealth mode right now. So I transitioned out of my last SaaS company, and I've been in stealth mode just as a fractional CMO, and I'm actually going full time with an AI startup January 5th. So happy to tell you all a little bit about what we're cooking up there. But without further ado, so that's just a little bit about me and where I've been. For the rest of our time here, again, like ask questions, jump in the chat. Fernando's going to help moderate and guide us here. But, I'm really excited to, dig into kind of like 3 core things that I'm hoping to cover today, which is how do you create and scale a category, how events play a role in doing that, like how can an event infrastructure help accelerate revenue across your go-to-market ecosystem, and differentiate in market, and ultimately how do events actually inform what is today in the age of the AI boom. I have a hypothesis and a point of view that events are actually the backbone to the greatest content that you can create evergreen year round. And I have the data to tell you why. So I want to go in.
And I agree 100% on, Bryan and I are on the same page on this. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm also kind of the third takeaway that I'm going to cover today is diving into and showing you a content creation framework that I've created that is best positioned for you to stand out in market, whether you're creating a new category or not. Like this is applicable to, no matter what your marketing strategy is. There was a question that popped up. Can you pull that back?
There was, it's Amber Grainer. She said, what's the hardest behavior change to get from sales, and what specifically made them treat events as their channel instead of marketing? And then if someone tried to copy this event engine tomorrow, what's the one constraint they'd underestimate, and what breaks it if they get it wrong? So I'm wondering if maybe at some point during the narrative that you're going to discuss, you can answer these questions, or I don't know how you want to answer that.
Yeah, I think what I want to do is I want to set a little bit of context.
Yes.
For you, Amber, before I tee this up. And so, I think first and foremost, let me give you just some context and background on like how we got started and how we scaled. And to be honest, it feels a little cliche to say this, but like the pandemic, like put certain pressure points on our go-to-market engine. And we blew up during the pandemic. We went from about 4 million in ARR to like 9.5 million ARR during the pandemic. We had a huge boom. And, that happened because, to be honest, like we had been talking about our category for many years leading up to the pandemic. Our category was something called responsive fundraising. And responsive fundraising was a methodology that led to a strategic shift that we believed that our buyer needed to make, regardless of if they bought our tech. We actually believed that anyone in our ICP could benefit from our category. And that is what you're trying to do with a category, right? You look at what they did with customer success over at Gainsight, and, now there are job descriptions at every company for customer success roles, right? You're trying to influence the entire industry through your category. And the turn of the pandemic put our ICP in a position where they had to evolve, they had to adapt. And as it would turn out, our category was the answer to that evolution and pain point that needed to be made. So the pandemic put on like an incredible amount of pressure and opportunity for our company to like really effectively scale, because we had been at this for, I want to say like 2.5, 3 years at that point. The other thing too is that the category is also the product marketing. They are one and the same, right? So we believe that you could take, our argument was that you could take any component of your strategy, and in order to fulfill the promise of the methodology of the category, you couldn't do it without our tech. So the category was inherently product marketing. And so, maybe Amber, you can kind of start to see like how this is going to eventually like build into a sales motion and a partner selling motion and a customer success, retention, expansion motion, et cetera. So that's that. And if people have questions and want me to elaborate to provide more context, like please go ahead. So in the first iteration of the pandemic, we just said, well, we did what everyone else did. Everyone stuck behind their Zooms. And so we just said, like, let's put on a summit and let's start by doing it literally every single quarter. And it was scrappy. We literally built like a custom coded website that rotated in and out of Zoom meetings, and people could come and see like 30 to 40 speakers over the course of 2 days. And I think in our first iteration, we drove like 500 registrations. And within 2 years, we scaled down in cadence. So we went from every quarter to twice a year to annually. And we also scaled up registrations to, a couple hundred in the first iteration to thousands to tens of thousands, down the road. So we were kind of like, so our category was at the right time at the right moment. I think we could see down the line and we could anticipate, like, as our buyer evolves and matures and gets more sophisticated, that like there would be a tipping point moment for our category. Just turns out that the pandemic pushed it over the edge.
Right.
And so that's how we scaled our event. But, I think what was really critical was the event served a lot of different functions. So I want to cover those functions, and then Amber, we can like dive into sales and constraints, et cetera. But the first component of this was, I think by the time that we had enough revenue and enough budget to turn this from a virtual only event, we actually decided that the transition to running an in-person event wouldn't actually be an in-person attendee experience. We decided that the most impactful thing that we could do was to have an in-person speaker experience with a virtual audience. Our office was based in like a pretty swanky warehouse, huge, like 20,000 foot all open concept. We literally turned our entire office into five stages, highest production value you could imagine. Our event budget, candidly, was only about $200,000. So like without a lot of spend, we created a very high production value where we created an incredible on-site speaker experience. And our speakers are everything from white glove, hand-selected customers that we are engaging and nurturing, prospects that we wanted to win, speakers and thought leaders that were in alignment with the methodology and mindset of the category that could help us blow the lid off of like spreading awareness and education and engagement on the category. Partnerships that we were developing that we knew that by engaging them in the event and creating an amazing knock your socks off speaker experience where speakers are feeling like they're walking away with amazing connection to thought leaders, deeper connection with our team, better understanding our category and our methodology and our framework. Like we saw an acceleration in sales across different go-to-market channels just from the in-house speaker experience. So yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish that thought. I just had a quick question about that.
Yeah. And then I was going to say, and that also allowed us to scale an attendee experience. And to be honest, we're working within an ICP where there's not a lot of P&D budget, right? Like they're not like our buyer isn't traveling to conferences. They don't have the budget. They don't have to spend. There are conferences and we go to them and we have a trade show strategy, but to offer something of extremely high value that's educational, practical, allows them to close gaps in real time, and it's free. Like we just went gangbusters on registration. So lead volume shoots out the roof. And we are, and because, again, like I said, because the category is product marketing, everything that we're educating on always points back to the product. So we are enabling and engaging our sales team from start to finish, to helping us drive registrations, to helping us find speakers, to engaging them as active participants in the event, to teeing them up to do live interactive demos and other demonstrations throughout the event. And, within 2 to 3 days, we would go from, I'm trying to remember like our stat, I think month to month, like maybe we were generating like maybe on average, like 100 demos, hand raisers a month. We are CRM, so it's like heart surgery. It's high friction. It's a long sales cycle. But, we would sit 300 demos in 2.5 days. And so that's where like our sales team starts to foam at the mouth because we are just like handing them a golden opportunity to just like fill their inbound coffers.
Amazing. That's amazing. Can I ask you, what was it? Why was the in-person speaker experience such a driver of success for your summit strategy?
Yeah, so it's a couple things, and it's kind of going to give away like where I'm going to land at the end. But and so maybe I should tee this up. And can I share my screen here?
Yeah, go ahead and share it, and I'll.
I turned the camera off. Here we go. Share screen. Sorry, y'all. Where is this? Okay, great. This is why speakers are so important. It's something that I've coined the authority content framework. And just to tee this up, you all have probably seen this chart. SEO is changing in the age of AI. And I promise that SEO has something to do with speakers. This is the viral HubSpot organic traffic graph that everyone was showing when Google changed their algorithm, and HubSpot's organic traffic like a year and a half ago tanked 80% overnight. So AI is transforming the value of your content. And if you can actually go into the Google Developer Console and you can see how they are developing and building the new algorithms in terms of searchability, findability of certain content. And it's based on 4 key pillars. It's based on experience, authority, expertise, and trust. And the bet that we made, and I've since replicated this at other companies and have seen the same, the bet that we made was that in order to source the highest value content to stand out both to your buyer and in an organic search engine, you have to have content that is backed by experience, authority, expertise, and trust. Who are the most authoritative, experienced experts that drive trust to your buyer than speakers? No one does that better than a thought leader, a speaker, a customer, a partner that believes in you, that believes in your product, and has their own expertise. So we're bringing together a group of speakers that are not just creating content from stage that we're capturing, but we're building relationships to drive future webinars, high traffic lead generation, blog engines, and other downloadable assets, creating collisions and collaborations at trade shows in the field, drifting off of each other, right? It's this like compound effect where we say, well, we could do an event and have a bunch of great speakers. And I think most people probably run events, and you create all of this amazing content in 48 hours to a week, and it dies at your event. Why? It is the best content for you to influence your go-to-market motion. And so you could use this framework to drive your content flywheel. And so this is why we brought speakers in person, because we didn't want to capture Zoom recordings of the highest quality content. We wanted to capture high production value of the highest quality content right within the walls of our office and build relationships with these people and make them feel seen and cared for, like they were collaborators and partners with us, so that we could build fruitful partnerships and relationships beyond the container of the conference. So
it's amazing.
Yeah. So the way this framework works is you have to source your authority. And this is starting with your people. You start with your customers, your partners, your team. Like, I mean, like, pick up your sales reps, like get them in front of the camera, so that way when they send a video LinkedIn DM to your buyer's already seen their face because they attended a session where your sales rep was a thought leader, right? Like this is like a winning authority strategy. You want to capture with context. So you want to design a content and a program that allows for unique insights that you can't get anywhere else. It's not, everyone talks about AI slop. AI is just pulling all of the information that already exists on the internet. So how are you getting originality and uniqueness and diversity in your content? Right on stage at your event, right? Again, it's like fueling that category creation. And then you have a syndication motion. So the second the event ends, right, you have your inbound team, you have your copywriters, your designers, your demand gen team are all working in sync to make changes and updates to the website. It's mapping the blog strategy. You're syndicating, slicing and dicing all your video. It's ramping your social strategy. It's changing what you're saying over email, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So everything that you do within the container of an event over the course of a couple of days is actually enough to fuel a 12 to 18 month marketing strategy.
That's amazing. I just love this because it's, you know, the speaker before you spoke fantastically about AI, and so it's kind of a contradiction, but this is an AI-proof strategy, which then you can use AI.
We use AI to do all this syndication.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. You use AI to amplify. You can use AI to be, you know, he talks about the mechanic, and then he talks about the artisan, and then he talks about the strategist. He talks about AI taking care of the mechanic and artisan stuff, and then you talking to doing the strategy, and then you're talking about how
you feed it.
Yeah, you feed it with original thought leadership, high quality content that fulfills that EEAT,
the EAT framework.
The EAT framework, exactly, which is fantastic. So, anyway, go ahead. I kind of interrupted you were on a roll here. You were in a zone.
No, this is great. I mean, we're kind of bouncing around a little bit, but this is what this was designed for, right? We're just going into it and we're diving in.
So, yeah, go ahead.
No. Ask away.
Yeah. So, so how does the event build category growth then? So we talked about how you just talked about how the events, you know, with the in-person premier speaker experience help to drive success. How does it tie into category growth? Because we had like 2 sessions earlier today about category creation.
Yeah, I mean, like how you measure a category is super, like it's a super challenging exercise. You know, I mean, there are some like basic things that you can do, but I think at the end of the day, part of this all has to do with actually speaker onboarding. Like now we're getting into like event strategy, but like the speaker onboarding experience is actually your opportunity to drive growth for the category. Because what I did, like I was the owner of the category. Like internally, like I was VP head of marketing, but internally I was really like head of category. In terms of like what I was like really in the weeds on day to day with our CEO, outside of like running the marketing team. Like the marketing team was doing all the rest of the work. And, you know, I was helping drive strategy, but if I was getting my hands dirty, it was in category. So I actually personally, as the like owner and as kind of like one of the designers of the category, I was meeting one-on-one. And I mean, this took my full-time effort for several weeks in the months leading up to the summit, where I was actually meeting one-on-one with every single speaker and engaging them and educating them on the category itself, and getting them aligned to, these are our talk tracks. This is the problem we're solving. This is the value that how our product solve this problem. And here's how I think your voice and expertise fits into the problem. So we were actually co-designing content to make sure that when you bring, and by the time we scaled up, we had 75. I mean, we did a lot of sessions. We would have 5 concurrent sessions going at once for 6 hours a day for 3 days.
Wow.
It was busy. There was a lot to digest.
Yeah.
75 to 100 speakers, right? But now you've created 75 to 100 megaphones that get it, that believe, that are bought in, right? So again, this is how the event strategy helps you amplify the category. So then what you're doing is you get all these thousands of attendees to come and attend, and it's just osmosis, right? Like, So then when our sales, because what happens is like our sales team is then dialing after the event. And like one of their key talk tracks is they say, hey, we help you become more responsive so that you can, again, the category is responsive fundraising. We help you become more responsive so that you can generate more revenue from your donors through these 3 strategies. Well, they just spent 3 days hearing about the methodologies, frameworks, and strategies from all of our speakers on how to achieve that. And then we come in and say, hey, we have the tech solution.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect.
So again, it's like the category is it's equipping the sales team. It's equipping, it's driving content for our academy that our customer and user base uses to get certifications in the category, right? So so when we talk about like, how do you measure it? We measured through an academy. So like real world, like certifications, applications, just like a HubSpot academy, where you could measure, you could also, look at traffic growth, SEO. Like, again, when we started, you put our category name into Google and you got nothing, right? So it's an uphill battle, but you're the only one on the megaphone. And, right. And over time, you start to see a turn in tide where like our hope is that like our customer is starting to use the framing and the language and the strategy behind the category to solve their own problems without us having to be involved.
See, I think this is the roadmap here, Ryan. I mean, I think, because we talked about category design earlier and the category design panel, and then Kevin Maney and Mike Damphouse talked about their new book, The Category Creation Formula, right? But I think what you're doing is that you're kind of tying up the all the strands together in a Gordian, in a knot. That says, okay, now this is the way to get to get that category out there, right? And I love what you talked about with spending a lot of quality time with the speakers, telling them about the strategy and where they fit in with that. That, in a way, I kind of tried to do that as well, but being a one-man show, one-person show. Of course. You and I kind of talked about it, and the great thing that we were very aligned with exactly this whole strike marketing strategy. And then just the megaphones. I love that megaphones concept of you have all these speakers now who are going to start talking about your strategy. And then the salespeople who have been completely indoctrinated in the category through the 2 or 3 or however many days of your summit, so that they can now talk authoritatively to the prospects about it. So that's a beautiful thing.
I would go as far as to say that the category helped with staff retention, because when you join the company, what's the first training you're going into? Category. It's the first thing. It's the first thing you're learning about, right? Yeah. So it informed our hiring process. It informed who was a good fit, and it created internal evangelists because people believed so deeply in the problem we were solving because of the category. It was so powerful. The other thing that I'll say, this is just kind of like a side note, but I meant to mention this earlier, is that like I mentioned that we wrote 2 books. Fun fact, the second book, so the first book's called Responsive Fundraising. That's the category. The second book is called The Responsive Nonprofit. And the Responsive Nonprofit, the where it originated was actually a keynote that we co-created with our CEO, where we built a maturity model. So starting from, point 0, it was kind of like a 5-step model, where in order to fully adopt and be successful in this methodology, here are the growth stages that you need to mature through. And we did a 1-hour keynote for it. And the keynote was so helpful and powerful, we turned it into the second book. Wow. And the thing that the maturity model did was going back to like, how does this help sales? Like, we identified a way to understand how complex the needs were within our buyer based upon where they were on the maturity model. And we could actually identify, like, if you're at stage 0 on the maturity model, you're not a good fit to buy our product. So we don't have to waste time talking to them anymore. So it's actually helping our sales team better identify and cultivate the right prospects at the right time in their, based upon where they are in their own maturity and growth internally. So it helps us sell faster, more effectively to the right buyer. And again, that literally only came to be because we had a platform where we needed to deliver a keynote, and we developed content for that keynote around maturing the category.
I love that. It's like, and I really like, excuse me for interrupting again, but like, no. We hear about the classic HubSpot model of where they wrote the book and they did the content through their blog and they had the event inbound. and then the podcast, and it was all kind of a virtuous circle. But we didn't hear the virtuous.org. Was it virtuous.org or virtuous.com?
It's .org. Yep.
.org. We didn't hear the virtuous.org story. And I think it's a probably even more compelling story, because it's, first of all, I think you guys were kind of a little bit more lean and agile. And second of all, you kind of bookended your books. Sorry, you had the initial book that kind of kicked off the category, which was early days. And then you had the book that kind of concluded or added more maturity with the maturity model at the very end of it. After all these, months and years doing the summits and getting evangelists and the megaphones out there, and coming up with this maturity model. I think that's, well, let me ask you this, and I know I'm going off script a little bit from what you had planned.
That's okay.
But is this a model, do you think, that other types of tech companies and maybe even other types of B2B companies can use as well? Maybe even non-tech companies, but I'm thinking maybe other tech companies that are not in the tech for good space.
Oh yeah. I took this model and again, it like you mold it to where you are. So I took the authority content framework concept and the event concept I brought into a completely different vertical SaaS company. Like, because of the work that I had done in events in category, I was able to draw a lot of traction within event-based software.
Yeah.
No surprise. So I actually joined an event tech company after.
Session Board, is that the one?
Session Board. Yeah. Amazing product. Like, if you're interested in making the most of your content from events, you got to look up sessionboard.com. They're incredible. So, what we did, and again, I joined the company really early stage. We were at about 700K ARR, and we literally doubled down on, we believe that a speaker-centric content strategy can help us create enough traction to pull growth levers, to set the sales team up for success, to open the top of the funnel, et cetera, et cetera. And instead of doing we didn't do a virtual event, but what I did was I created, just, again, it's like strengthening a muscle. We just created a cadence where every Thursday at noon, I was live with a speaker talking through the category at Session Board. And we did that for 6 months. And
like a weekly webinar type thing, right?
It's just a weekly webinar, right? And that's what it is. That's what we're talking about, right? It is not rocket science. But I think the way that we treated it, when you think about, again, when I go back to this, let me just pull it back up so you all can see. When I go back to this, where is it? I can't find it. Hold on. Sorry, guys. When I go back to this authority content framework, like, we weren't just running webinars. We were running webinars to source the content to fuel our entire demand gen engine. And I think in 6 months, in 9 months, we went from 700K ARR to 3.5 million ARR. We had over 300% growth in less than a year. And this was like the only thing marketing focused on. So, and to be honest, I'm at it again. So, right now, I'm in a little bit of stealth mode, but the AI startup that I'm a part of is a conversational AI product. It is an extremely sophisticated AI coaching and personal development product that we could actually use live in an event format. And so we're going to be developing and creating an event strategy that actually includes applied learning, where everyone could hear a thought leader speak, and in the same session, they could take everything they learned and go into applied learning in our product for free and talk to a real-time expert coach to help them develop their own strategies. Wow. And so it is product-led growth. It's a first of its kind product in its own category. So it's category creation, product-led growth, and it's leveraging speakers to teach on methodologies, and then getting people on our product.
Yeah, that's
And
fantastic.
it's a product that's flexible enough where, like, in an event format, like, we can let people in temporarily for free and they can get immediate value. And I'm not exaggerating. Like, the time to value from hitting login is 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And so
Mhm.
we're using the event engine to create the category and drive product-led growth.
Very cool. Very cool. Listen, we still have plenty of time. I had another question, and I think you might have answered some of this, but I just wanted to ask it anyway. So, as the event, as the event matures, so kind of going back to Virtuous, and maybe this also worked for Session Board. How did your category events fuel other growth levers?
Yeah. So, I think one is all growth levers, right? So, I think for one, it helped, like, you think about the on-site speaker experience. Well, okay, a certain percentage of we were very strategic around what percentage of our speakers are customers, which percentage of our speakers are thought leaders, staff, partners, resellers, etc. And we're actually creating opportunities, exclusive dinners, networking opportunities, because the summit would only run from 8 in the morning till 1 in the afternoon. So there was a whole production of experiences once the summit ended, while we had all of these people in one place in our city.
Yeah.
So our partner team is, like, building deeper relationships and curating experiences. And we even did, like, pop-up events with customers and prospects that were local, right? So there's more happening outside of the container of the event, and it's creating opportunity for our partner team to, accelerate partnership-driven pipeline and revenue. Right? Like, we're strengthening the customer success muscle, because we're doing two things, actually. One thing that we did was, we're elevating the customers that embody the category, in the best and brightest fashion. So, there's, like, a customer-led component there, but we also stood up our own version of the Apple Genius Bar.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were a customer that was having tech issues, needed tech support or help, needed better understanding how in training, and needed to use the product in a different form of functionality, we would have our full team ready to go virtually, like in virtual rooms that people could join and get the customer success help they needed in real time. So we're just giving, like, insane accessibility into our CS team.
Mm-hmm.
So that's helping with, like, trust, retention, tons of expansion opportunities, right? Like, we're using the summits as, kind of like our Apple big product launches, making sure that we always had a huge product launch that was tied into, the event every year. And so, we're helping drive, like, expansion revenue, getting customers excited and jazzed about, like, the direction and future and innovation on the product. So, hopefully that kind of answers your question, but, like, we're like,
Yeah.
we always thought about the event it wasn't through a marketing lens. It was always through a go-to-market lens. Like,
Yeah.
we always wanted to make sure that every function within go-to-market had a proactive, productive role to play in the event that would
Mm-hmm.
help them do their jobs with more ease and less friction.
Perfect. So before we get back to, and let me see, do you, Amber, or do you think that we have answered all of Amber's questions throughout your talk?
We sort of answered the second one. I think that the other piece on the second part of this question is, like, what if it breaks? Is, like, I just think, like, part of the gift of category is if you're creating a category, it is unique to you and only you. And so it gives you an opportunity to be creative, to stand out, to do something differently. And so in that, like, I don't think that there's necessarily a template. Like, I do think that there's just an opportunity to, like, do something that's wholly unique in a new way, and let your category drive that.
Mm-hmm.
Can you pull up that question one more time? Because there was something in the first part that I thought was interesting. The hardest behavior change from sales. Y'all will laugh. I don't know what I think sometimes the early days of category creation was trying to convince our sales team that we weren't just like in a cozy room doing arts and crafts.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Like we're actually doing meaningful work that's going to like drive revenue and leads and demo requests and hand raisers and, all that and the other. I think the biggest thing for us for getting buy-in, and to be honest, the most successful sales reps and the most successful sales rep at that company is still at that company. And I don't think he'll ever leave because he has built a golden throne for himself. They used the category in their sales cycle. And so like being a partner to sales is critical. And oftentimes the ones that resist, like they didn't make it, they didn't hit quota. But I think the other thing too is like at the end of the day, like everything that we do has to result in pipeline, and more importantly, it has to result in revenue. And so the fact that I can stand here today and tell you that like our summit, our category summit, was the single highest pipeline driving event every year, year after year. We drove, on average over the course of a couple of years, we drove 2 million a year in pipeline. Mm-hmm. In 3 days from a single event.
And you had the way of tracking that. You had the way of being able to understand what the source of that revenue was.
Yeah. So we had a great RevOps and marketing ops team, mm-hmm. and they did a fantastic job with attribution, accurate deal sourcing. And so like we were backed by an incredible ops team that was helping us be able to report on, again, how the event was driving growth and revenue. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, like that's the thing that bought trust. And so like in the early days, before we had a marketing ops leader and before we had a sales ops leader and a rev ops leader, I was taking it upon myself, again, like scrappy startup days where like I didn't leave a meeting about the event without telling the sales team, like my projected lead generation pipeline goals for the event. Mm-hmm. Like I was just always reiterating, like, this is what we're doing for you. This is what we're doing for you. This is what you're doing for you. And so that was just how we built trust.
Yeah. So I have another question, and please, people in the audience, whether it's in this chat or the other chat, please feel free to, or I encourage you to post questions for Bryan. We don't have him for very much longer here.
But, like open book. I'll happy to talk about everything. And what's funny about this talk is the other thing I'll say is like the event was like, if you talk about just the event, it was only like, I don't know, 8 to 10% of our total team's energy every year. Right. So it's like, it's one microcosm of like a broader marketing strategy. So if people have other questions that are percolating, like go for it. Open book.
Well, I was curious as to how you drove, how you promoted the event. You said the very first one you ever did at Virtuous was 500, and
like
then
500. It was even less. I think it was like maybe high like 380 to 400.
Yeah,
it was moderate. I mean, like I'm at a company now where we do like the AI startup I'm on. Like our CEO is a pretty big influencer in our space, and like we get 900 registrations to just like a webinar on a Tuesday. It's like It's crazy.
So what were you doing to get to first to get those first 300 to 400 subscriber registrants, and then scaling up to finally get the thousands that you did? What were some of the strategies tactics you used?
Couple things we did. First of all, like the internal enablement was huge. So we enabled our sales team to be registration drivers. We enabled our customer success team to be registration drivers in tandem with like the marketing engine that was promoting the event. So early, like in that maintained throughout the growth of the event, we always enabled our team. So there was a whole go-to-market enablement strategy to drive registrations to the event. We had goals baked around percentage of the customer base that needed to be registered for the event. Because again, like better adoption of the category also meant more success on the product and belief in the product, and what we were building and why. So that's one component. The other component is, we had a very, very white glove speaker enablement strategy. So while I'm doing all of these sessions with speakers, workshopping their sessions, we're recording all of those sessions. We're syndicating that content and serving up to speakers, them already dishing the goods that make them look freaking brilliant in a 5 to 7 second clip. And we say, hey, we did this clip for you. Can you promote our event to your audience? And they're like, whoa, you made me look great and valuable to my audience. Of course I'm going to post this. So we had a speaker-led registration strategy. The other thing that we did was there was a point in the growth of the event where we actually brought on essentially like a co-host or co-sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
We paid them, and we gave them the highest tier sponsorship, because this company in particular ran a podcast that was the most listened to and downloaded podcast in our vertical.
In the fundraising space or the tech for good space. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Wow.
And so we paid them for their time and their content creation. We gave them a stage. So they actually had their own stage where they created their own content and interviewed tons of influencers and speakers. I mean, we had huge, big name speakers like on this co-host stage. Wow. So they got a dedicated stage. That stage was repurposed into their podcast strategy for the next 6 months. So we gave them all the content for free. I mean, we made it so sweet for them because they had so much trust and authority and reach that we didn't have as a tech company.
Yeah.
And bringing them on and building that partnership in that way, I think was critical in scaling the event from hundreds to thousands of registrations.
Did you have to pay them a lot?
No. It wasn't. Again, like our whole event budget was like $200,000.
Okay.
So, I think we paid them $30,000.
Yeah. Okay. Woo. Well, Bryan, thank you so much. We've got 2 minutes left. This has been fantastic. You went above and beyond my expectations. I don't know if anybody else has anything that they want to say, Amber, or, actually one person said that they couldn't hear it, so they had to leave, but.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You can hear me, right?
I hear you. I think everybody can. I think Dr. Simone Davis, Deanna, Kevin Walker, et cetera. Anybody else wants to ask Bryan something? All right, let's connect. Okay, Bryan.
I dropped my LinkedIn. If anybody wants to connect, please love staying connected to other marketers, love learning from others. If anyone here happens to be in the tech for good space, I co-host a monthly gathering for tech for good chief revenue officers and CMOs for monthly strategy sessions. It's a private space. Nothing leaves that space. It's very sacred, very protected. So, if any of you are kind of in our vertical, please shoot me a note. I'll add you to the invite. And other than that, shoot me an email. And if you want a copy of the Authority Content Framework, I'm happy to share it.
Perfect.
And then if you have questions, shoot me an email. Let me know how I can help.
Thank you so much, Bryan. Let's everybody do a virtual round of applause for Bryan, Deanna, and Stephen Woodruff, and Mighty. Everybody says thank you. And then what are the first? Oh, you know what, Mighty? He's going to have to answer that. Go ahead and contact him directly. You can connect with Bryan on his LinkedIn. And we're expecting Kevin McGrew to join us any minute now. And Kevin is going to talk about from CEO to author, how he went from CEO to author, writing a book. Okay. Bryan, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And rock on, man.
Yeah, thanks everybody for coming. Thanks for attending. Enjoy the rest of the summit. Fernando, thanks for organizing. I know how much effort and sweat equity and stress goes into what you've put together. So thanks for bringing us together. And I'm grateful to be a part of your content creation strategy.
It was a lot of fun, and I learned so much from you, man. Learned so much from you.
All right, y'all. Cheers. Thank you.
Yep.